Hi, I'm Chef Jen, and today I'm going to teach you how to make cannolis and cannoli filling from scratch. I will be using my food processor today. If you don't have one, you can mix your dry ingredients separate, cut in your butter, and then knead by hand once you add in your wet ingredients. So we're going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to add in there a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and a half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. We're just going to give that a pulse so it comes together. And then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of cold butter. It's important that it's cold so that it doesn't smoosh and clump in your dough. You want it to be able to break apart. So I have mine cut in about 1/4 inch pieces. And you're going to turn this on and wait for your butter to turn into little tiny pebbles in there. It's all mixed in. You shouldn't be able to see any clumps of butter. And then we are going to add in our wet ingredients. So we have 1 whole egg plus 1 yolk. I have a 1/4 cup of apple juice. You can use white grape juice. And 1½ tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Usually a cannoli is made with a 1/2 cup of Marsala wine. I don't have Marsala wine with me today. But most people have a juice and a vinegar at home, so you're going to bring this together until it starts to form a dough. I am going to dump this out and knead it by hand now. You can keep it going in here. If you have a hand or a stand mixer, you can mix it in your stand mixer for a couple minutes. Flour my surface. Dump out my mix. And form it together. Think of it like snow, you're just making a giant snowball. And once you get it in that snowball, we're going to have to form some gluten in there. So when you go to knead anything, you basically grab it, you fold it in half on itself, and you push with the heel of your hand. Just grab any pieces that keep falling out, put them back in, and knead. You want to form the gluten so that when you fry it, your batter doesn't just disintegrate in your oil. And it's going to come and get pretty stiff pretty quick. And I am going to leave it at that stage right there. And now, because you've just formed that gluten, you're not going to be able to roll it out right away. So you're going to wrap it in plastic wrap and set it aside for about ½ hour to an hour. I have one that I made earlier that we're going to work with that one now. So once again, on a floured surface, when you flour your surface, take a pinch of flour and toss it sideways, and you'll get less clumped flour. So here's my dough that I made earlier. I'm going to break off a piece. With a rolling pin, floured, we're going to roll it out, and we're going to get pretty thin here. Make sure you're rolling it out evenly. So now I've got a very, very thin batter dough. I don't have cookie cutters here, so I'm using a clear plastic cup. You're going to push down very hard and turn, and that's going to cut our dough. Try to get as many out as you can in one turn, because as you're adding more flour, you're making your dough harder to work with. Okay, so now we've got our circles. We're going to take a fork and we're going to dock them, which means just put some holes in them so that when you're frying them, they don't completely explode up and make like a chalupa looking situation. I'm going to dock both sides. And normally when you fry cannolis, you use a cannoli tube. It's a long cylinder that's made of metal. Once again, I don't have them and I want this to be accessible to you at home. So we're taking tin foil and we're just gonna roll it up into a tube. Just like that. Once you roll it, spray it with some non-cooking stick spray, or non-stick cooking spray rather. And place one in the middle. What I'm going to do is just cause some divots on one side so that it sticks better. And then we're going to take an egg wash. It's 1 egg and about 2 tablespoons of water, all mixed in, and we're going to egg wash that side. Roll it up and pinch it, and it should now resemble a cannoli shape. Try to pinch it together pretty good so it doesn't come flying apart when you're frying it. And then we're going to go turn our oil on to fry. When we're frying, I suggest that you use clean, non-used oil. This is vegetable oil, and like I said, straight out of the package. If you have a countertop fryer, feel free to use it, but I would definitely make sure that your oil is brand new so it doesn't taste like whatever you cooked last. A lot of you might have had that experience going to a restaurant where you can taste something that you aren't necessarily eating, but something that was also cooked in the fryer that your stuff was cooked with. If you want to test your oil without dropping your cannoli in first, just take an extra piece of dough and drop it in and see if it starts bubbling. If it does start bubbling, then you're good to go. And we will drop our shells in. They're going to want to float. There's enough egg in the batter that it's going to leaven it and bring it up. So you're going to constantly want to keep turning them to make sure that you are cooking even. And the cooking process does take a couple minutes, but you're going to want to make sure that they come out nice and brown. Here's one that I made earlier. So now we're going pretty good. And it's important that you do that the docking so that they don't explode open while they're cooking. It's also important that you do the egg wash in the scoring. It will keep the flap folded over, whereas usually, see how they're puffing up now, it would want to explode completely open instead of staying locked together. Okay. Make sure you tilt it so that you drain the oil out of the tinfoil roll before you move it anywhere. Make sure you don't get any of that hot oil on yourself. like I said, you're going to want to go onto a cooling rack. I just want to show you how easily these should slide off here. Now, tinfoil doesn't stay hot for too long, and my fingers are kind of shot anyway, but if you want to grab a towel, grab one end, slides right off, and there's your cannoli shell. So now that you've got your cannoli shells done, I'm going to show you how to make the filling. So in our mixer, I'm going to use the whisk attachment. We're going to put 2 cups of ricotta cheese, 8 ounces of mascarpone, we're going to put some lemon zest in there, and when you're zesting, make sure that you're not getting any of the white pith. You just want the very, very outside of your lemon. If you get the pith, then it's going to make it bitter, and we don't want that. Okay. And 2/3 a cup of powdered sugar. I'm also going to put a little bit of vanilla in there, probably a half a teaspoon. Okay. Now we are going to put that into a freezer bag, or if you have a piping bag at home, go ahead and use it. Don't have a piping bag, I always say freezer bags because freezer bags are a little bit thicker than regular sandwich bags, and so they won't pop open, they won't pop the sides as easily as a normal sandwich bag or storage bag. Try to put it in one corner, work the air out, cut your corner. You're going to take your cannoli shell, stick the front right in there, fill all the way out, and when you're done, you kind of push down to get it out of there. Now, if you want chocolate chips or anything, just dip them in at the end. So we've got a chocolate chip one there. Let's do another one. And remember, when you're filling, push down, and sprinkles. You can use nuts, you could use whatever you prefer. But I hope you found that educational. I really hope that you try to make these at home, because how fun is that? And please like and subscribe if you would like to see more videos.